Hello guys, it is me, Luke Alexander, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post commentary, critique, and reaction videos about basically whatever the fuck I want. Today's video is very much in spirit of that because I am starting a new series on my channel called Music History. I am an avid fan slash listener of music. I mean, aren't we all? I love music. If I could sing, I'd be singing all the freaking time and being a massive singer, but as you just heard, I cannot sing for shit. So yeah, I just love music so much. It's such an integral part of my life. I'm always listening to it, whatever I'm doing. It just gets me going, it gets me moving and grooving. And one of my favorite artists now is Freddie Mercury. I have found a recent love for Freddie Mercury since doing research on him for this video, since watching Bohemian Rhapsody, since listening to Queen, ever since I was a child when I first heard it on Ella Enchanted when they sang Somebody to Love, which is coincidentally still my favorite song by Queen. I've always heard Queen in my life, whether it was Don't Stop Me Now, you know, just playing in movies, or I Want to Break Free, or We Are the Champions, or even Fat Bottom Girls in Glee.
Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
So I just always loved Queen, whether I knew it or not, and that's why I'm so excited to make today's video, which is basically a music history about Queen, but more so about the beautiful and tragic life of Freddie Mercury. Now, this story means a lot to me because Freddie Mercury is a gay man who likes cats, and I'm a gay man who likes cats. I'm kidding, I'm just looking for any, like, relative relation between me and Freddie Mercury because he's an icon, and if I could be anything like him, I would. But it's a beautiful life that he lived, but also a very tragic one, which is why today I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the story of that on Music History with Luke. So without further ado, let's get into it because I'm about to dive in. We're about to rock and roll. I want to break into this bit. Sorry, I need to stop. I'm getting way too carried away. But you know what? When in Queen, you know what I'm saying? Okay, anyway, let's get into the video. Let me pull out me scripty whipty. Researching this video was so fun, you guys. First of all, we're going to talk about the band and like his music life, and then we'll talk about his personal life. So Freddie was born Farrokh Balsara in the East African island of Zanzibar on the 5th of September 1946. He was born to his Parsi parents who immigrated from India to Zanzibar, where his father worked as a clerk for the British government. Freddie spent the majority of his childhood attending a boarding school in India, and he was always an avid music lover, and he even started learning how to play the piano at age 7. And by the time he was 12 years old, he had started his very own band called The Hectics in 1959. The group covered classic rock tunes at school functions all the way up until 1962, in which Freddie was the pianist. Freddie's family moved to Middlesex in 1964, where he studied graphic design and graduated from Ealing College of Art in 1969, while singing for the blue bands called The Wreckage. He also actually worked at baggage claims in Heathrow Airport. During this time, a fellow student introduced him to Robert Taylor and Brian May, which were the members of a band called Smile, which would transform into Queen once Freddie joined as their lead vocalist after their previous singer quit. The bassist John Deacon joined the following year, would incorporate heavy metal and glam rock into the band's music. EMI Records and Elektra Records signed the band in 1973 with their debut album Queen, which was released and is now marked as one of the most pivotal moments in rock history, which was then followed by Queen 2 in 1974. Despite their impressive music, Queen actually struggled to garner much attention beyond the United Kingdom. It was their album Sheer Heart Attack in 1974 which catapulted them into the limelight. The album houses the band's ambitious, operatically styled song Bohemian Rhapsody, written by Freddie himself, that spent 9 weeks atop the British singles chart, which is actually interesting considering the song was almost not released because of its length and its unusual style. To this day, it remains a recognizable smash hit. Further success was followed for the band in 1977 with We Are the Champions and We Will Rock You, which was often played at sporting events in the United Kingdoms and the United States. Queen was something of a democratic band, with all 4 members being responsible for several #1 hits on the albums. Their unique lyrics and sonics, coupled with their theatrical and flamboyant performances, made up the Queen we know today, both on film and stage. Through Freddie's projection and performance and the band's support, Queen became known as the developers of stadium rock, a reputation which preceded them when they won the record for a massive show in South America where they performed to 231,000 fans, Sao Paulo. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Don't quote me, or do. They were also the key innovators for pop videos with their catalog of 3-minute clips that were adventurous in style and content.
I want to break free.
By the early 1980s, Queen had become an international household name known for their exquisite stage performances. Garnering extravagant costumes, Freddie commanded audiences of tens of thousands. While Queen's fortunes began to dwindle in the mid-80s, they reached their climax with their astonishing performance at the charity event Live Aid in 1985. That same year, Freddie released his solo record Mr. Bad Guy, which was inspired by disco. His love for self-parody peaked with his cover of The Platters' The Great Pretender in 1987 in a video where he descended a staircase with many identical cardboard cutouts of himself. Unfortunately, in 1991, Mercury announced publicly that he had been diagnosed with AIDS, and he died just 24 hours after that due to complications with the disease. Musicians and fans from across the globe paid their respects to rock's most innovative and flamboyant artist with the end of the Freddie Mercury era, having a tribute concert in the Wembley Stadium in 1992, which later introduced the AIDS charity named the Mercury Trust, set up by the remaining members of Queen and Freddie's executor and life partner, Jim Hutton. Not long before his death, actually, Freddie continued to film all the way up, and even in his death, he was still featured on the band's final album, Made in Heaven, in 1995. 20 years after his battle with AIDS, he remains in the minds and hearts of millions throughout the world as one of the greatest artists to ever grace the planet. In fact, in 2010, Freddie won a poll amongst rock fans and was named the greatest rock legend of all time, beating the likes of Elvis Presley, David Bowie, and John Bon Jovi. To this day, the Mercury Phoenix Trust has their annual Freddie for a Day initiative, which was designed to celebrate Freddie's life each year on his birthday and raise funds for MPT, which is a product designed to protect people from sexual and reproductive health issues, including AIDS and unwanted pregnancies. Freddie's 60th birthday was celebrated with a major party for the Mercury Phoenix Trust, hosted by the bands Brian May and Roger Taylor. So that's kind of Freddie Mercury's life with Queen and his music career. Now we'll move on to his personal life, namely his lovers. We can't talk about Freddie's life without talking about the infamous love of his life and best friend, Mary Austin. So way back when, the fashion was really into the fashion scene, and a store called Bieber was one of the greatest underground fashion stores, coined the fashion of the people. The band often went there because of the well-dressed woman, and one of them was Mary Austin. Brian met her at a concert and started going out with her, but it never really went further than a kiss. It became really obvious to Brian that Freddie was really interested in pursuing Mary. He would smile and say hello to Mary for 6 months before he finally asked her out. It was a very emotional attachment for the two of them, and they were living together just 5 months later, and they lived together for 6 years after that. They were a good match, both being very shy. They acted as if they were a married couple from the get-go, and Freddie felt like they both believed in each other. They were truly the loves of each other's life. Alrighty guys, excuse my appearance. I know I look nothing the way I did in this video. Catfish vibes! But I completely skipped a whole paragraph when I was reading my script, so I'll just read this to you. So, at some point Mary realized that the relationship had changed, but she wasn't absolutely sure. She could tell that Freddie didn't feel comfortable with himself, and then he felt bad about something, and he was actually avoiding her. When he finally told her that he was gay, she finally understood the problem for the last 2 years of their 6-year relationship. She was glad he was finally being honest with her. Once he had opened up, Freddie had changed and become more happy, more like himself from the early years of their relationship. Mary loved seeing Freddie happy and be one with himself. And in the interview I watched with her, Mary said that,
I see it as a love that you accept and somehow understand because you want the person inside to grow. And you're fascinated to see this person within totally at ease and at one with themselves. There's a great feeling, a great, almost euphoric feeling that you are witnessing. The development is just...
For this, and even now when I was researching for this video, watching the interviews where Mary talks about Freddie just really warms my heart because you can really tell how much she loved and cared for him. In 1989, his studio was told that if Freddie quit drinking and smoking, he could live a bit longer, but that he wouldn't make it till Christmas. In the studio, they were a close-knit family working on their music. It said that he had more concern for his cats than he did for people, and he would much rather talk to them than his friends. Whoever was looking after them at the time, he would call so he could talk to his cats when he was on tour or when he was away recording music. He truly loved his fur babies, which warms my heart because I love my little fur baby. But he never actually had babies of his own, but he was very close to Mary's sons, one of which was actually named after him, John Frederick Mack. The sicker and weaker Freddie got, the more he worked to stay occupied. He buried himself in the music till the very end, and during this time they produced The Days of Our Lives.
Those were the days of our lives.
When Freddie lost his battle to AIDS, Roger and Brian set the record straight with the press as they were saying really nasty things, basically saying that Freddie deserved to die because he lived a promiscuous lifestyle. And they wanted to defend Freddie because he was not there to defend himself. Although those claims are vicious, Freddie did have many lovers besides Mary. Even after their relationship was over though, Freddie took care of Mary financially and she continued to play his fake girlfriend at red carpet events and with his parents. From 1985 to 1978, he dated David Mins, who was the reason Mary and Freddie broke up because their relationships overlapped. They were a couple for about 3 years and lived in a flat Freddie bought for them. He wrote You Take My Breath Away and Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy about David. David later wrote in his book that Freddie would panic at the idea of his parents finding out that he was gay and was with David. At a dinner with his parents and Mary, Freddie's mother asked if he was up to his old tricks again, insinuating was he laying with other men. He came back to his flat and cried to David. Freddie's constant fear affected his mental health and his relationship with David, and while touring through America, Freddie fell in love with Joe Finale. He still wanted to keep David in his life and told him that he had enough love in his heart for both of them, but David didn't want to accept it and he broke up with Freddie. Joe and Freddie dated from 1978 to 1979, and Joe actually moved to Britain for Freddie and the two lived together, but Joe could not handle hiding the relationship, so he ultimately ended their partnership. Between 1981 and 1983, Joe cut contact with Freddie to get his life together, but they would occasionally meet up and Freddie still renewed Joe's visa every year. They were never really out of each other's lives because Joe was really important to Freddie and they later became best friends, and Joe actually worked as Freddie's cook. When Freddie was sick, Joe actually nursed him every single day, even though he was suffering from his AIDS himself. Joe and Freddie had a very special bond, and it's said that Joe always knew how to deal with Freddie's panic attacks. From 1979 to 1980, he dated Tony Baston, and the two ended things when Freddie found out Tony was cheating on him. But what I find really funny is that after their breakup, Freddie literally took and kept Tony's cat Oscar, which is just hilarious to me. He already had like 5 freaking cats. I'm assuming that was a sick. And it's so funny because I don't know if this is true, but in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, he said that there was a room in the house for every cat, which I just... goals. I love that. Anyway, after the cheating incident in his next relationship, Peter Morgan came and went. And then Freddie met the one who got away, which is Vince. The short love affair ended because Vince didn't want to go on tour with Freddie. In 1982, Freddie dated Bill Reed, who was actually violent and abusive towards him, so that relationship ended quickly. In 1983 to 1985, he dated Winnie Kirchberger, don't know if that's how you pronounce it, and they fell deeply in love. According to Brian May, Freddie wrote It's a Hard Life in 1984 about Winnie, and Freddie provided Winnie with an apartment, a car, and matching rings that they always wore, which is so cute, but unfortunately their relationship did not last either. After many failed relationships, Freddie finally met his final lover in 1985, who he was with until death parted them in 1991. This lover was Jim Hutton. The two had their own kind of wedding in 1986, and Freddie would always call Jim his husband. Freddie once said in a letter that he was happier with Jim than he had ever been before. The two just had a really beautiful relationship. I found this one line which I just thought was so beautiful. So when Freddie was diagnosed with AIDS in 1984, he offered for Jim to leave him, but Jim simply replied, "I love you, Freddie. I'm not going anywhere." Which is just like, I feel like I'm literally gonna cry. I'm literally, oh, I don't want to ruin my makeup. Oh. It's just so beautiful that he like cared that much about him to stick by his side. But unfortunately, even with Jim by his side, Freddie never had the courage to tell his parents he was gay, and he died with them not hearing it from him. He simply told his parents that Jim slept in another room, which I think we both suspect they knew otherwise. Till death, Freddie financially supported Mary, leaving her his garden lodge, his beloved home, only if Joe and Jim could stay there whenever they want, and he left her his record royalties. He also left money to Joe Finale and of course Jim, who was also HIV positive, but lived longer having not developed AIDS due to new medicine that was available in the 90s. Winnie Kirchberger, Bill Reed, Tony Baston, and Joe Finale all tragically died of AIDS at a young age. Well, on that somber note, I know that's a horrible way to end, but that's it all, folks. That's the beautiful and tragic life of Freddie Mercury. Gone but never forgotten. May he lay at peace in our hearts and minds as one of the greatest rock legends of all time. Oh, you guys, that's my first music history video on Freddie Mercury of all people. I love Freddie Mercury so much. I think he is such a legend and such an icon. So I'm gonna send you all off with my favorite song by Queen, which is Can You Guess It?
Each morning I get up, I die a little, can barely stand on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry. I love what you're doing to me. I spent all my years believing you, and I just can't get no relief. Lord, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody to love.
Okay guys, that's enough singing from me. I clearly need to get these vocal cords checked because they sound like absolute dog shit. You know who doesn't? Freddie Mercury, king of rock. Remember it. Put some respect on his name. Alrighty guys, that's it for me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. If you did, give it a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts. Comment what other musical legends you want me to do. I will do living and dead. I'm not discriminating. And yeah, all my social media is down below if you want to go ahead and follow me, as well as my second channel and my podcast channel. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I love you all so much, and I hope that you have a great day or night wherever you're on the world. Bye!